Great to see you again, Tony. I'm going to start off by sharing a little bit with everyone about Maria Teresa Ruiz. She was the luminary who nominated the night skies of the Atacama Desert as being the most beautiful in the world. So as an astronomer, she's made notable discoveries such as a supernova at the time of explosion, planetary nebulas, and a system of 2 low-mass brown dwarf stars that are 61 light years from our planet. Pretty incredible. Maria Teresa is also a past president of the Chilean Academy of Sciences, and she received the National Award of Exact Sciences, which is a huge honor. So my first question for you today is, what was Maria Teresa Ruiz's reasoning behind her nominating the night skies of the Atacama for your exploring beauty journey? Has she explained this reasoning?
Well, she didn't explain it directly, but I suppose it's pretty self-evident, really, that as an astronomer, she's thinking about where one could see the best examples of the night sky. And the Atacama is obviously the premier place. It's dry, there's very little population, so there's very little pollution. If you're up at Alma, you're 16,500 feet up in the mountain, and so therefore you're closer to your target. It's pretty evident, really, from being in deserts that is where you get the clearest views of stars. And so from her point of view, that would be the most beautiful thing on Earth, I'm sure.
What struck you about the night skies of the Atacama, and what else about the Atacama Desert do you find beautiful?
To me, it's always exotic to look at the beauty of the night sky when I'm out camping in the desert. As for the Atacama itself, I mean, I've got to say that much of the Atacama isn't very beautiful. Much of it is pretty dull. It's a sort of uniform grey colour, no vegetation. And in fact, I can remember we were going to give a prize, weren't we, of a bar of chocolate to the first person to spot any living plant. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And it took something like 3 days for Dave to spot what turned out to be somebody had dropped a tomato pit, and it happened to have taken root. So it wasn't even a natural plant in the desert.
Yeah.
So a lot of the Atacama isn't very interesting, I think, to be perfectly honest. And as a painter, I can remember looking at it and thinking, oh my God, what am I going to paint here? But then when we got to San Pedro de Atacama and went into Valle de la Luna, we suddenly realized that actually it was extraordinarily beautiful. So like a lot of places, there are frequently long periods of nothing much, followed by areas where you're just blown away by the exquisite beauty of it.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's fascinating too. I mean, you're approaching the landscape with a painter's eye and thinking, what could be a good composition for me to be able to, put my brush to paper. And a lot of what we saw was just so flat. There was not a lot of layers in the landscape that we were seeing. But like you said, also once in a while we'd stumble across these just incredible scenes, otherworldly, like something out of Mars or the moon, which Valle de la Luna is named after. And as for the plant life, I remember being hopeful as we were driving to the coast that maybe we would see some moisture along the coast because of the ocean, and it'd be lush and green and nothing. It was just rocks and sand all the way to the ocean. Where did you paint, and how did you choose where to stop and paint along the way? And just for a little context for our viewers, you ended up doing, I think, 7 paintings along this trip, which eventually led us to Parinacota in the very north of Chile, where you created that painting. If you could just give us some context or some insight into how you chose those different locations.
Well, I suppose my memory is of the first one we painted was simply we went over a sort of area. It wasn't pampas, but it was a sort of area with a little vegetation in it, and we came across a beautiful little volcanic cone, really, which was just an exquisite colour. And I can remember looking at it and thinking, well, actually, that would make a very nice little painting. And so I said, we've got to stop now so I can do a little painting. And we put our tents up. I can remember it started to snow. And I went and did a few hours work in the snow. And then went back to camp, and everybody was pretty dismal. We spent the night there, and then in the morning I got up and did a couple more hours painting, and then finally the snow was blowing right into my face, and I gave up. And but nonetheless, I had got what I needed from that little painting, and then I could see when I got back to camp, I could see you guys were on the point of mutiny. And so the next two paintings, I think, were done along the coast, which although it wasn't spectacular, at least it wasn't absolutely bitterly cold and snowing. And coastal paintings are always, I won't say they're easy to do, but you can usually find a subject. And so those two worked out all right. And then we went inland once we got near Arica, and then the landscape started to get a little more interesting. In fact, a lot more interesting. And if you remember, we hiked down a little river valley. It was
in Putre.
Putre, that's right. Yes, Putre. And we hiked, and there was a little stream, really. But a stream in the desert is always an interesting thing and very compelling. And so I did a painting there. And then I think let's think, there's one more somewhere. Oh, well, of course, there's the night sky at Alma, which was done from a photograph, because I just couldn't face the idea of sitting in the freezing cold trying to paint. And
at night.
And at night, no, it was just an impossibility. So, but I did want to get some record of the fact that we had seen this exquisite thing on our journey. Of course, there's a little one from Valle de la Luna, which was of Le Concabur.
Yeah, that's a pretty spectacular one. Just the landscape there reminds me so much of the back of a stegosaurus is what comes to mind. The way that the ridge runs through the desert.
Mm. Well, that was the larger painting, of course, which was the kind of signature painting of the Atacama, as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
Because that was, I remember you guys found that site when I was painting the little painting.
Yeah. And
you said, "Hey Tony, you've got to come and see this." And I thought, "Oh God, can't we go back to camp and have supper?" No, you've got to come and see this. So we hauled ourselves up that sand dune.
Yeah.
And I can remember climbing up there behind you and thinking, well, I don't know what the hell they think I'm going to paint out here. This looks bleak. And we got to the top, and I looked over and I thought, wow, this is enormously complicated. And you said, no, not there. Turn round. And sure enough, I turned round, and there was the most exquisite and extraordinary view. It just looked like one of those supreme photographs out of National Geographic of every thing you would want in a desert. I mean, it's just beautiful color, fantastic rock formations.
Yeah.
The Concabur in the distance as an eye catcher. Just everything about it was absolutely exquisite. And so I was hooked then, and knew I had to go back and sure enough paint that what I say is the signature painting really of the Atacama, as far as I'm concerned.
The last question I have is just, we wanted to see if you could tell us more about some of the souvenirs in these 7 artworks from the trip, what they are, maybe what they mean to you, and what some of the stories are behind them. You don't have to go through all of them, but maybe just pick a couple of the interesting ones.
Well, 2 or 3 of them I think are just rocks, and just picked up on the site. But and then one of them I think is a couple of seeds, very strange looking seeds that look like cashew nuts, and I thought those were interesting. And then the night sky painting from Alma is a little piece of a meteorite, which I purchased from a meteorite dealer.
Did you buy that after the painting, or you had it in your collection already?
No, I bought it afterwards. Yeah, I bought it especially for it. Because people love those because they're so incredibly heavy compared to their size. I mean, they're very, very dense, and so it's always a wonderful thing to give somebody one and say, what do you think that is? And wow, and meteorite, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.